Cathy is going to come and talk to us about the work of Dyslexia Scotland and maybe a bit about why she thinks dyslexia matters in higher education. So over to you, Cathy, and thanks very much for coming along.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for inviting me to come and speak today on your 50th anniversary and on the first day of Dyslexia Awareness Week. I'm really pleased to be here today. I've been asked, as Anne said, to speak a little bit about speak about Dyslexia Scotland and also why dyslexia matters in higher education. Dyslexia Matters is the theme of Dyslexia Awareness Week this year, and the sort of sub-themes, if you like, these have all been agreed by Dyslexia Scotland, the British Dyslexia Association and Dyslexia Action for the first time, as well as the dates. We've shared the same theme and the same dates, which hopefully will help with promotion right across the UK. But we want to highlight why dyslexia matters to the 1 in 10 people affected by dyslexia in the UK. We want to highlight it because with early intervention and the right support, people with dyslexia can reach their full potential. And because at school, college and at work, making the environment dyslexia friendly can obviously benefit all, not just those with dyslexia. With the events that we've had during Dyslexia Awareness Week, and which will carry on throughout this week, all fit into this theme and are intended to raise awareness about dyslexia for those who are dyslexic, as well as everyone who supports them. And I know there's a mixture of people in the room, of students with dyslexia as well as staff. So I hope that you'll be joining in some of the activities throughout the rest of the week. Our What is Dyslexia leaflet, which this is an extract from, is on our stand today. And I know you'll all be aware of the strengths and the difficulties associated with dyslexia. And in particular, one of the things that we try and emphasise during Dyslexia Awareness Week is that it's not just about reading and writing. And certainly in terms of higher education, there are often people who come to university college who maybe are not aware, even at that stage, or have only recently become aware that they are dyslexic, because maybe the other difficulties is that maybe you can read and write perfectly well, but it's other difficulties that they've had problems with. And as many of you will know, it's lifelong, hereditary, and it's also recognised as a disability under the Equality Act. So obviously that's really important in higher education in terms of the sort of support that can be put in place. Dyslexia Scotland is based in Stirling, and we have 17 volunteer-led branches across Scotland. We have a small staff team of 6 in our main office, but we're backed up by a very strong team of volunteers, which range right across the organisation, from our president, Sir Jackie Stewart, our ambassadors, who I'll tell you about in a minute, board of directors and a members' representative council. Our aim is to inspire and enable people to reach their potential in education, employment and day-to-day life. And we work not only with people with dyslexia, but also with anyone who supports them. So that includes lecturers, teachers, foster carers, adult literacy workers, prison staff, prison officers, social workers, employers, a whole range of different people that contact us and that we're able to offer support to. This is our network of branches. We've got our furthest branch is up in the Outer Hebrides, and the branch the furthest south was one in Dumfries, and there's one in the Borders. And we've got work underway to start branches in 2 new areas, in Caithness and in Glasgow. Our branches hold open meetings right throughout the year for adults and young people, as well as parents, professionals and others interested in dyslexia. There's a wide range of interesting speakers, and the branches also work hard to raise awareness locally. So the Edinburgh branch, whose stall is here today, is well established, and it organises many events. And they were the ones that were behind Ellie's Blue Ribbon campaign, which I believe that Margaret Mitchell talked about this morning. Basically, Ellie, who was 12 at the time when she launched this, wanted to everyone to wear a blue ribbon during Dyslexia Awareness Week because she got fed up with telling people about what dyslexia was and what it meant. So that's something that's been started by the Edinburgh branch, which we have extended right across Scotland and actually this year for the first time across the UK. We've distributed 53,000 blue ribbons so far, 33,000 this year, so it's becoming something we hope, and it's lovely to see some blue ribbons in the audience as well. So that's an example of something that's been started by the branches, and then we've been able to roll it out nationwide. These are our strategic aims, so there's 4 strategic aims. So I'm looking at something in the back, which is fine. There's a different screen on the back, which has got something on it. These are our aims for the current 3 years, and that'll take us into 2015. The slides that will follow will tell you a bit more about what we do under each aim. But our first aim is the purple one, and it's about providing and promoting high-quality services that inspire and enable people to reach their potential. And I'll tell you more about those services in a minute. Our second aim is the green one, which is to influence and achieve positive change nationally and locally. And that includes the development of a range of national resources, including for educators, for prisoners, and for the public, as well as raising issues that come up through our helpline, through our branches and through our members. And we try and lobby or make changes based on the information we receive from our members. We do a lot of work with Scottish Government and Education Scotland, but also with employers and people in the workplace to try and change things that affect people with dyslexia. Our third aim, which is the blue one, is to give people with dyslexia a strong individual and collective voice. And that's really about making sure that what we do represents what people with dyslexia tell us, and recognising the huge range of experiences that there will be, because everyone with dyslexia is different. So we're not talking about one particular experience, we're trying to share a whole range of different experiences. I'll tell you a bit more about that. And our fourth aim, the pink one, is really about our governance, funding, the support for our members, our branches and our volunteers, as well as our ambassadors. So that's the one that's less interesting, but it's really important because without that we wouldn't be able to deliver the other 3 aims. These are our services. I'll talk about the helpline on the next slide. The tutor service, we have 60 tutors who tutor adults and children with dyslexia. And we provide seminars twice a year for those tutors. Last year we had 380 requests for our tutor list, and quite a lot of people say that the involvement of their tutor has made a huge difference to them in terms of gaining confidence and enabling them to reach goals that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. And a lot of the time the tutors work on things like organisational skills and particular issues that those the people who engage the tutors have. We provide assessments from a visiting educational psychologist in Stirling. We have a range of information and publications, some of which you'll see on the stand today. We do a lot of awareness training for organisations, and that includes workplaces, schools, colleges, prisons. And we have roadshows and conferences for a range of different people around Scotland. Our education conference once a year attracts over 300 educators and was sold out about 2 months in advance this year. And we have a resource centre for our members so that people can actually access information and advice from our base in Stirling, as well as on a free online catalogue. Our adult network is something that meets quarterly in Stirling, and they cover a range of different topics. So for example, recent meetings have covered things like dyslexia in pictures, dyslexia and emotions, IT solutions, and strengths and resilience. So quite a wide range of different topics that the adults ask us to cover. Our social network and our website are very, very active, and there's a lot of interaction on issues related to dyslexia. So we do ask lots of questions on Facebook and Twitter, which we then use in our publications or in our events and so on. So if you haven't already engaged with us on social media, please do. It'd be great to see you there. This gives you an example of the number of helpline queries we had last year. And as you'll see, the most common reason for people calling our helpline is general information. So still, most people who contact us for the first time are asking what dyslexia is, which is still quite frightening in this day and age, but people want to know more. Maybe their child or themselves have realised that that they think they might be dyslexic. They want to know more about what that means. Assessments is the second most common reason for people calling us. And again, that's adults, children, young people. What's the process? What does it involve? Why do I need an assessment? What does it cost? So a whole range of different questions that people ask about that. And the third most common reason is the tutors, so people finding out about how they can get one-to-one support. And after that, a lot of legal issues people ask us about, workplace support, help at home, and branch information. So they're the most common queries, but obviously anyone can phone us about dyslexia on any range of subjects, but these are the most common. This is showing you who calls us, so it's still predominantly parents. 60% of our callers are parents, but 27% of the people who call our helpline are adults with dyslexia. And the rest, as you see, is a mix of different people who support people with dyslexia. So anyone, our helpline is open to anyone, and we do try and plug it so it's not just those with dyslexia who do call us. We run a series of road shows around Scotland every year, and this year for the first time we had a mobile van, and that's us getting on the ferry in the Hebrides. We had around about 200 people this year coming along and just visiting us on the bus, and a huge number of people said that they really valued the fact that they maybe saw the van going past, and then we stopped and they could come and speak to our advisors. So we hope to be able to do the mobile road show more often, but we also have more traditional roadshows where we go to community centres and schools and different centres so that people can just drop in and find out about dyslexia. They have talks, they have advisors, they have stands, and many people, I think, come to those roadshows without having had previous kind of knowledge of dyslexia, and sometimes you see people kind of walking in and tentatively sort of sussing people out to see whether or not they can come and talk about their own dyslexia. We have a quarterly magazine for our members, and this has been themed, so every magazine has got a theme to it. These are some of the examples of the themes we had last year. We had last November for the first time a magazine completely written by children and young people for children and young people. That was really popular, so we're going to do that once a year. And the one that we're just collating at the moment has had a huge amount of different contributions. So one of the things that we do encourage in every magazine is contributions from people about dyslexia, so their own experience, whether you're dyslexic or not. And we do find that it's very, we never have any problem with getting enough contributions. I think people do want to share their story, and that's really important. The other themes we've had this year have been parents and adults. The last one was specifically for adults. There's lots of information on that. And we do always welcome contributions. So maybe we have something about today's event would be very welcome. Other members' benefits include discount on assessments and on conferences, access to our members' area on our website, and also a proportion of the membership fee goes to the work of the local branch. So that's a way of actually trying to make sure that we could continue to support what the branches are doing. We have publications on a range of different topics. So at the moment, I think we've got over 25 publications, including our first Polish leaflet. So our What is Dyslexia leaflet has been translated into Polish, and has been widely well received by the Polish community. And we've got a number of leaflets for lecturers and students, which are here today as well. They're all freely downloadable on our website, so if you just click on the links and resources section of our website, They're all downloadable. They're just two sides of A4, and they all have some information of where to go for more information. We have 7 ambassadors who help us to raise awareness and raise the profile of dyslexia. You may know some of these, you may not know any of them, but we chose these ambassadors as people who are working in different sectors and different jobs and different settings across Scotland. So we've got Paul McNeill there at the top, who works for the Scottish FA. And he gives very, very passionate talks. If you haven't heard him speak, I do suggest that you do. He's very good. He's speaking in Glasgow later in the week. Mark Stoddart is a sculptor. Nicola Morgan is an award-winning author, and she's written lots of books, her most recent being about teenage stress, and there's a chapter on dyslexia in that book. Ben Thompson, who you may have heard on the radio this morning, he's the chair of a think tank called Reform, but he also, his mother set up Barrington Stoke, which I'm sure the publishers for reluctant readers. Keith Cook is the fencing champion and captain of the 2014 Commonwealth fencing team, which is in November rather than in July. Chris Tyzo, who has dyslexia in the family but is not dyslexic himself, the others all are, who's chief executive of Tyzo Group Limited, the outdoor clothing and equipment retailer, and Stephen Naismith, who in the picture was playing for Rangers, but now he is a Scotland and also Everton footballer. So they all speak out about dyslexia in their own settings, and that's made a huge difference in terms of us reaching people that we probably wouldn't otherwise have got to, and trying to actually give people role models in a whole range of different settings as well, which has been really well received by young people particularly. Jackie Stewart, who's our president, he works closely with the ambassadors, and he, as you know, I'm sure, campaigns tirelessly for dyslexia as well. Just over the weekend there, it was the American Grand Prix, and there was lots of tweeting going on about Dyslexia Awareness Week, because we were trying to kind of make sure that people who were watching the Grand Prix were kind of getting the link to dyslexia. So we're trying to actually kind of I suppose just use every opportunity we can to raise awareness about dyslexia. Our first young person's ambassador, Ellie, I think that Margaret spoke about her this morning. Ellie is seen there with the First Minister, obviously. That was in 2012 when she launched her Blue Ribbon Dyslexia campaign. She got every single MSP to wear a blue ribbon in a debate. And since then, she has written to a whole load and sent her blue ribbon to many different people, including actors and royalty. I think Prince Harry has been wearing the ribbon. So she's done really, really well to kind of really raise the awareness about it. And as I said earlier, 53,000 ribbons in total have been distributed, and there are some here today if you haven't already got your ribbon. We've now run out of ribbons, but we do have a Twibbon campaign, which I'll tell you about later, so you can actually attach a blue ribbon to your Facebook or Twitter pages if you have Facebook or Twitter. Ellie's Blue Ribbon campaign led us to do quite a lot of work since really 2012 with young people. Ellie herself, there's a clip of her speaking about why she launched the campaign, and that's been used in lots and lots of schools and colleges, and she has actually inspired lots of people to speak out about dyslexia for the first time, and so she became our first young person's ambassador, and we've got a few other young people who are speaking in schools and colleges about their own dyslexia. And that's been really positive, because it's just given people confidence to say, actually, I can stand up and talk about it too. We do have young people speaking at our education conference and at events throughout Dyslexia Awareness Week around Scotland. And certainly the most powerful messages do come from young people themselves about what difference it would make and what they would like their teachers to actually to make changes to. I spoke about the children's magazine, and we also had a young people's workshop last November, and we're planning to do more, because currently, up to now, we've done much more work with parents and with others who support people with dyslexia, but we really do want to kind of increase the amount of work we do with young people. I spoke earlier about our second aim, which was about influencing national change. One of the things that we've developed under this aim has been the Addressing Dyslexia Toolkit. Now, this is a free online toolkit, and it was initially developed for teachers of students aged 3 to 18, but has been lots of people in higher education and further education have also found it helpful. There's quite a lot of information in the toolkit. It's free, it's online. There's links to resources. There's a whole section on IT, which Craig was involved in developing. And it has a traffic light approach for teachers. So there's a sort of green for all teachers. There's an amber level for people who have some knowledge of dyslexia, and then there's a red level for people who are more involved in assessing dyslexia. But I do recommend, if you haven't looked on it, it is worth going into. And we do change it all the time. So if there's anything, we do welcome feedback on it if you've got particular comments about how it could be expanded. It was funded by the Scottish Government, and there is a working group that meets regularly to make sure it continues to be maintained. And that working group has a lot of different representatives from local authorities, universities, and education psychologists, as well as Education Scotland and Dyslexia Scotland. So there's quite a lot of input to that resource. This is another example, and this is it's more related to schools, but the implications of this report I think are really important. Some of you may be aware that there was a review in 2008 by HMIE on education for learners with dyslexia. We met with the First Minister in 2012 and asked for that review to be revisited, and Education Scotland were commissioned to revisit that review, and the report there you see is the outcome of that. The report's called Making Sense, Education for Children and Young People with Dyslexia, and it was launched in May earlier this year. Partners, including Dyslexia Scotland and others who are mentioned in the recommendations of the report, were invited to submit views on the report to Scottish Government, and on the back of that, the Scottish Government did a response to the report in June. And since then, a dyslexia working group has been set up, which met for the first time on Friday. There's information about the report on the link there, and I'm assuming that all the slides have been made available. But there are some very important recommendations in the report, and it does provide a significant opportunity to build on. There's good practice outlined in the report, but there's also a high number of inconsistencies of practice highlighted. And some of the recommendations include a national guidance to be produced by Education Scotland, and a comprehensive training package for all teachers, which Education Scotland will work with us on. And also there's some recommendations related to dyslexia-friendly practice. So I think it'll probably take a while before things actually happen, but if you keep an eye on our website and on Education Scotland's website, really about the next steps, then we can certainly update people on what's happening there. But we do hope that if the recommendations are taken forward, I think it will make a big difference in terms of what happens in school, but also in terms of the definition that's used in Scotland, and transition into further and higher education. One of the things that was highlighted in the report was the gap between the attainment of young people with dyslexia compared to young people without additional support needs, particularly in relation to entry to university. So obviously that's an outcome that the report is setting out to try and change, and we'll be working to make sure that that happens. Dyslexia in Us is an example of, under our third aim of giving people with dyslexia a voice, of us trying to sort of make sure that we share the stories of people with dyslexia. And if you haven't already seen this book, you can get it from our website, and it's just recently been launched as an ebook, and it's just £2.99 on Amazon, or you can just link on from our website. It's got over 100 stories by people from all walks of life and from a whole range of different ages, and it talks about the impact of dyslexia on individuals, families, and people's professional lives as well. So it touches on a whole range of different angles of dyslexia, and lots of people have found it very helpful as a way of raising the profile of what dyslexia is and isn't. So it's worth having a look if you haven't already seen it. It was published with the support from Edinburgh City Libraries, and we've been working closely with the libraries to promote it as well. It's Dyslexia Awareness Week, obviously you're aware of that. There's a link on our website to a whole range of different events right across Scotland. I think all of the events are free, so please do come along. If you haven't already seen the programme, then just have a look at our website. We do have a Text to Donate campaign during the week, just to encourage people to donate, and that's the text there. But most importantly, if you can attach a Twibbon to your Facebook and Twitter pages, then that would be fantastic. I think we've had 500 people so far this week attaching Twibbons, so it's a very visual way of actually showing that you can support the cause. So wear your Twibbon this week. If you want instructions for that, they're on our website as well. And if you do want to connect with us, you can connect with us on Facebook, Twitter. We have a blog. And we've also just set up our YouTube channel, so we're always looking for videos and clips to add to YouTube. So if you've got any that you think should be on there, please just let us know.
But the question is, if early identification of dyslexia is so important, why don't more primary schools screen or test for it? What are the main barriers?
Okay, very good question. As I'm sure everyone is aware, increasingly it is educational psychologist services are doing less of the assessment in schools, and it's being expected more that the teachers actually carry out assessments, but obviously there's a huge confidence gap there and knowledge gap in the schools. So that was one of the reasons why initially it was the Assessing Dyslexia Toolkit, and then we extended it and added more information. That's one of the reasons why that toolkit was developed, to help teachers to build up their skills in assessing, so that early intervention could happen and the assessment could take place as early as possible in primary schools. A lot of teachers tell us that they are really frightened about actually doing that because they haven't had the training. So that is one of the things that we're asking to be included in the comprehensive training package that I mentioned earlier, which is one of the recommendations from the Education Scotland report. So I really hope that, because it is something that teachers want to be able to do, but they just do not. It's back to the kind of initial teacher training. They just don't have, unless they have done a course on it. It's very hard for them to do that. But we also are looking at the fact that a lot of teachers who do decide to do courses tend to go down to England because there aren't any courses in Scotland. So that's something we're looking at with GTCS as well, because at the moment the expectation is for teachers. Well, teachers will pay for that themselves, and it's their own time. And we heard of someone last week who went to Chester University to do that. So in terms of professional update and GTCS, they're very keen to work with us to make sure that the professional standards and professional update enables teachers to be able to get the qualification or the training that they need to be able to assess in early stages. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it is a step in the right direction, and it is a really exciting opportunity, this report. So I think that we're at the right place, but we just need to make sure that it does actually happen.